right? You normally work for groups, and then you would work maybe at this hospital and or that office. And so what I found, at least in my experience, especially now that, being in marketing and sales today, as I look to find other industries that are similar to the experience I have to see, hey, can I help that industry as well? In that research and talking to friends and family that have that experience, I'm realizing, oh, wow, you can negotiate your own contracts as well. I just don't think people are properly trained. And see, that's the thing is that, if you think about this, let's go back to education, teaching kids in school, right? I was years into running a business. The first time I was 25 years old, 26 when it started failing. And I realized I didn't know how to balance a checkbook, right? I mean, that was the reality. Like I could sell, everything was great. Economy 2006 started tanking. And then I was like, where's my money? Then I realized I don't even know how to balance a check. I don't understand what a P&L means, And so if you think about this, like we're so poorly educated in our education system in preparation for life. You want to talk about understanding how to gain yourself in employment. Like, okay, you have a 2% or 3% raise every year. Great. GDP is worse than that. And the annual increase in cost of living, I'm literally going down. Donnie and I did some research on this, but you're literally losing money annually because your dollar value is dropping. And organizations are like, oh, we're going to give you an annual, and you have to do well in your annual reviews in order to get that 3%. And I'm thinking, so let's just say I'm a B student and that's a good, decent student. I'm getting a 3.5 or a 3.2, right? I'm doing well. I'm not super exceptional, but I'm doing well. That means that every year I'm making less and less money. Jason?
Well, yeah, and that's totally what it is, and that's why people can't realize, or they're sitting here wondering, and some of the people watching this are probably having this kind of discussion, right? It's like, how come, I can't make ends meet? Well, part of the reason for that is you might have been in the job too long, and so even though you're making 50,000, 100,000, and you think that's a lot in your mind, it was 5 years ago, but now, it takes 120,000 to be the same as it was at 100. And chances are you didn't get there, right? Internally. And kind of to Lorianne's point before, especially our generation, right? We were taught, go to college, get a degree, get a good paying job with a corporation, you stay there your whole career, right? I mean, one of my uncles worked for the same electric utility for 45 years, right? He started, or 47 years. He started when he was 18. He retired when he was 65. That was the way things were done, right? There was stability. You always had your paycheck coming in. He had a pension.
Yep.
And so it worked great for him. But in those days when you had a pension, now that's not an option, right? Because companies realized how much money they were paying. They're like, screw that.
Oh my God.
No pensions.
You're about to open a whole nother can.
Yeah.
Right?
We can't, we probably can't go down there today.
Oh my God. Yeah.
But to Lorianne's point too, right, is it's like, and this is where kind of career coaching comes in to help, because sometimes your best answer is not what you've been taught. It's not what you believe is the right thing, but it might be the right thing for you. Right. So in that situation, okay, well, I'm taking a 50 cent an hour pay cut. So that's what, $1,000 a year. It was probably a lot at the time, but you realize by doing that, you're going to be able to get those credentials behind your name. And so taking $1,000, pay cut effectively 1 year could mean that you could catapult into your next job and maybe earn 10,000 a year more once you have those credentials. Right. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people don't think about that I'm big on is strategy. What is it going to take you? Yeah. What's the strategy? What is it going to take you to get to that next part of your life? Right. Or let's say, maybe somebody has kids. This happens all the time. Right. Middle age. Hey, my last kid. I was just talking with a friend about this week. He's got a year until they're empty nesters. So he's like, okay, well, let's talk about what are you going to do this year? Because a year from now, you want your life to be different. What do you need to be doing now so that you're ready for when your last kid leaves the house, and now you have the flexibility, right? But again, a lot of people, they don't think about this, and they don't realize how much they're leaving on the table, because the corporations, and I understand why, right? They're trying to make you feel loyal to them. They're using terms like quiet quitting. That is just a
People have
that is a
always been,
bullshit
yeah,
term. That is a
people have always been
bullshit
quitting.
term.
I
I
love it.
love
I
it.
love it.
Yes,
Somebody
yes.
calling that out. Thank you, Jason.
I'm calling it out
Thank you.
because quiet quitting is corporations trying to make you feel guilty for not killing yourself at work.
Yeah, they're trying to demonize. They're trying to demonize.
They're trying
the
to
employer.
demonize
Yep,
you.
Yep.
And here's the
That's right.
reality, right? Is we always end up making up for it. So what ends up happening is, I'm just going to run through like a hypothetical. Is well, we know inflation went up, right? We'll just say 10%, right? And you're getting a 3% raise, or we'll say 5% to keep the numbers round, right? So effectively, you are getting paid 5% less now than you did at the beginning of the year. Okay. So most people would say, well, hey, if I'm getting paid 5% less, shouldn't I do 5% less work, right? Or 10% less work? And so what happens is, somebody who is maybe killing themselves working 50, 60 hours a week, they go from 50 hours a week to 45 hours a week, right? I'm going to reduce my input by 10%. So I'm still kind of feeling whole, if you will, on the hours that I'm working. They're still working more than 40 hours a week, right? But your corporation is going to say, hey, Rigo, how come you're only working 45 hours a week now instead of 50? You lazy bastard, right? And it's like, no, I'm just trying to make myself whole, right? Or maybe I have to go get a part-time job now to make up for your cheap ass that won't pay me what I deserve in my regular day-to-day job, right? And that's happening a lot. We're seeing a lot of people with 2 and 3 jobs. And that used to be the case, but it always was the people that were, the blue collar workers, the factory workers, people like that. Now it's not. It's white collarish type people who are, being an Uber driver or delivering DoorDash on their time off, just trying to make ends meet, right? That's not the American dream. That's not the American dream I was taught, that I was fed. And that's why part of me is like, that American dream that you've been given of go to college, work really hard, stay in the same job, and be loyal to your company. That's not the American dream. That's American slavery, folks, in the
Jason,
current age.
Do you think this has does this come down to corporate theology, or is this really coming maybe even deeper? Are we missing the mark in educating our children properly in order to position them for career growth, right? Because a company will only be able to have the power that the employees allow them to have. I mean, that's the one thing about having a business, is I can only do so much. If I mistreat my team constantly, if I don't give them opportunities to grow or be a part of growth with me, or give them opportunity in any of the areas they're looking for, I will eventually lose them. And there's nothing I can do to force anything on them, right? I could try, but I'm just going to hurt myself. They give me the power. It's up to them how much power I have. Do you agree with that statement?
For smaller businesses, probably yes. For the larger corporations, here's again another little thing that you don't get told. But the way that, especially here in the U.S., right, most people's health care, as an example, is tied with their current employer. And it's very, very expensive to get health insurance. I mean, it's like $2,000 a month, right, for my wife and I. That's a lot of money, right? And so most people don't have that on their own, and so they rely on having something like health insurance from their employer. And so what's happened over time is the corporations, they know that, right? They want to get you with their claws, and I understand. Don't get me wrong, I'm a capitalist, right? I own businesses. But they usually, they come in and they grab you and they make you so sticky and so scared to leave because, oh my gosh, if I leave my job, I lose my health insurance. Now, one of my friends that I know, he wants to be an entrepreneur. He wants to do it on his own. He has a child with autism who requires a significant amount of health care each month. I want to say it was like $4 or $5 grand a month that they were outlaying to help their child. So he tried to be an entrepreneur for a little while, but had to go back and take a corporate job because he couldn't afford the health care, right? So that's one of the ways that they have their claws in you. And it's really, for a lot of the bigger corporations, the power has been in the corporation's hands. Now, what we're seeing is people are saying, screw that, right? And employees are starting to try to take back that power. Now, the reality is, for a lot of people, it's difficult to do that, right? Because, like I said, if you're in some of those situations, you have a spouse with issues, right? A lot of times people aren't willing to leave because of those hooks that are tied in. Or, oh my gosh, what if I do have to go what if I decide to quit and I have to go 3 to 6 months, right, without health insurance, without pay? Can I do that? And this is where, kind of back to your point, Rigo, part of it is us as parents not educating our children. And it's not that we're bad. It's just we don't know any different. We were taught something different, right? And so having 3 to 6 months of cash in the bank is a good thing. It gives you a lot of freedom, right? But a lot of people don't have that because, again, they're working so hard just to try to make ends meet every month that they've given their power to their employers. And so one of my big messages is take control of your career. As much as your company or whoever you're working for tells you, oh, I've got you covered, I'm taking care of you. Again, I'm going to call bullshit, right? Because it's not. And if you're not proactive, if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not doing things proactively to take control of your career, then you're just still a corporate slave. I mean, and the great philosopher John Lennon, go back and listen to Working Class Hero, right? And you're still fucking peasants as far as I can see.
You know,
listen to that song. That song was written a long time ago, but it totally reflects what's going on.